Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Okay, folks are still joining, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Let's wait for 2-3 minutes more and then we'll start. Yeah, good afternoon, whoever is sharing here. Good afternoon. Harinakshi, we can wait for 2-3 minutes and then start.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay,
But
okay.
some of them have joined in the training center.
Yeah, which is fine. Which is fine. That's what
Okay.
I'm saying. So just giving 2-3 minutes more and
Okay.
yeah. Okay, let's get started. And then I think more folks can kind of join. So good afternoon, everybody. Today's class, we will primarily talk about ERP and SAP, like how these two are kind of importantly like related to each other. I will talk a little bit about what in general ERP is and what SAP is as an organization, how there is a synergy, right? And then I will, again, just like last class, connect to the videos and the instructions, because it's good to listen from the experts directly. And then we have our discussions here in the forum. And in the instruction, you will also find some quiz questions, which we will together as a group try to just kind of answer. Doesn't matter right, wrong. I think it's more of a gamification. We all can have some like an interactive way of kind of learning, and that's what we will do. So that's the intent of today's session, right? And as usual, just feel free to kind of raise your hand and speak. Ping in the chat. We will see how best we can answer, etc., and kind of interact, right? So that's the thing. So just a very short intro in terms of what does an enterprise, I mean, an ERP mean? And typically, if you look at the definition or if you do a Google search, you will find it stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. That's what it means, right? But what is an enterprise? What is a resource? And what is a planning? Enterprise, again, it's big organizations, so any organization, right? Resource is, again, it could be human resource, that is the individuals, all of us, right? We are resources. It could be tools, it could be platforms, it could be anything that helps to serve or helps the business to kind of grow or helps the business to move, right? So that's resource. And planning, as you know, is planning. So how does then enterprises plan the resources in a systematic manner? That is what is called as ERP. Now, this concept of ERP has been existing for quite some time, right? Obviously, ever since organizations started to kind of scale and started to kind of start becoming more modern in the way they would kind of manage their workforce and resources, the concept of ERP came into the picture. Initial days, the ERP packages were basically around Excel templates or basically around some sort of a data mining kind of software, etc. Very, very basic. But over the time, what happened is as technology started to evolve, as technology started to scale, and with the technology revolution, a lot of organizations, they started using software building tools and software as the means to build these ERP packages, right? And that's where the various formats started coming through. Now, an ERP package, a software could, in the earlier days, would be installed in the local computers or the local servers, right? And that's how typically, one would be using it. But later, and probably in the last 10, 12 years, with the revolution of cloud and cloud as the source of storage of data, a lot of these ERP packages are right now available to be used, stored in the cloud. And that's where the world has moved in terms of technology, right? So there's a little bit of history to that. SAP is one such organization who has really been the front runner. Hence, today, when people talk about ERP, a lot of times SAP's name comes straight away because SAP has done so well in this entire thing, right? And specifically, SAP HANA is their latest package, which they have come out in the market in last few years, and is the most sought after ERP software, right? So hence SAP and ERP somehow goes simultaneously. The branding has been done so well. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to a little bit of history. We're going to listen about what's SAP and ERP and what this entire tools means, where it is hosted, how it is accessible, and then we'll see what are the different components it has. So after today's class, at least you will not become experts after today's class, that's for sure. But what you will become is you will have some idea. If you are able to have a conversation of 5 minutes with somebody on SAP, yes, after today's class you should be able to have that idea, and that's the intent of this class. You will learn more in detail from the specific instructors who are more of the specialists, right? So I will try to give you that information through the various video instructions, and then you can take down notes, you can listen to it, and there's going to be some quiz modules as well as a part of that video training. You can listen to that as well, right? You can participate there in terms of the Q&A. So I think that's how we will go about in this class, right? So let me I'll share my screen. Is the screen sharing enabled? Can you see? Oh yeah, it is enabled. I can do that. Right. Okay. So we will listen to the videos. We will listen to these instructions, and we will see these experts who are going to be talking. They are very specific folks who actually work in SAP, who has been working on the ERP implementations, this designing everything, right? So they are the specialists in the industry. So I actually reached out to few people and I asked them if I can share this video and have the the classes with all you folks, and they were very happy to agree to that. So I think that's why we have this video as a training model. So I feel this will be good information for all of us, and then let's see what we learn, right? So I will start playing.
ERP provides large businesses.
Sorry, can you hear the sound?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
fine.
sir.
All right, I'm playing.
With a single software to support all major business functions. No matter the industry, SAP's ERP is a suite of integrated modules used to collect, transact, and report on data from all of a company's business activities. This powerful software enables the flow of information between different parts of a company and with outside stakeholders like customers and suppliers. Hi, I'm Justin Valley. I've been an SAP trainer for over 14 years, and I've helped implement SAP at Fortune 500 companies across various industries. This course is for anyone who uses SAP ERP at work, or anyone who wants a high-level understanding of this enterprise software. We'll start with an overview of the system. Then we'll explore the most common SAP modules and how they support business activities. Next, we'll cover basic SAP navigation from logging in to using transaction codes. And finally, we'll review basic reporting functions like entering selection criteria and analyzing our report results. Now, join me to expand your knowledge of SAP ERP and take your navigation and reporting skills to another level. There are a number.
Right. So I'll pause for a moment. And you just saw in the video that, when I talked about ERP is all about managing resources, you saw a glimpse, and you will see more as we kind of move to. The different resources are accounting, financing, logistics, HR, sales. All of these are different resources that an organization needs to kind of manage. So an ERP tool is going to be helpful for one department to connect with the other department. So if you're a human resource and if you're an HR, you need to know what is probably the finance looking at in terms of the budget projection. Or if you are an HR, you may need to know if sales is hiring XYZ amount of people, right? So all departments needs to speak with each other, sitting and looking at something centralized through access. And that's what the instructor here mentioned, that in the training today, we will see how do we plan for each one of these? How do we implement the basics in the back end? And in the end, in terms of the front end, what do we see and how does everything interact together, right? All the resources and tools interact together. That's the idea. Just wanted to let you know, and we start again.
Number of benefits and limitations of using SAP. Companies spend a great deal of time and money weighing these pros and cons when they're deciding whether to implement SAP. Let's take a look at some of the most common benefits and limitations. First, we'll look at the benefits. Why would a company spend so much time and money getting rid of their old systems and transitioning to SAP? First, SAP eliminates information silos and standardizes data across an entire company or multiple companies. For example, instead of having one system that handles all of your company's suppliers and a different software that handles all of your company's inventory, all of this information is kept current in SAP. As a result of all a company's data being standardized in one system, SAP can be set up to automate a business's core processes. Let's talk about an example of this automation. If there's a part that needs to be ordered every time your inventory starts to run low, rules can be set up to automatically order the new parts from your preferred supplier when stocks hit a lower limit. Also, SAP ERP enables better decision making. Because all of a business's processes are in one system, you can create powerful real-time reports that provide in-depth data. Having access to this information in real time allows decision makers to collaborate, solve problems, and recognize opportunities on the fly. Finally, SAP is known for robust security and compliance functions. SAP's rule design feature allows for appropriate segregation of duties. It ensures that the right people have access to things like sensitive information or the ability to make business decisions. It's also possible to customize SAP configuration settings with a company's policies, ensuring compliance across the system and with government regulations. Now, let's have a look at a few of SAP's limitations. SAP is notorious for a very high total cost of ownership, or TCO. The software is expensive to implement and maintain. Not only is it expensive, it can take years to implement SAP across an entire organization. SAP is highly configurable, and because every company is unique, customizing SAP to fit a business can result in unexpected multi-year implementations. Finally, the software itself can be really challenging at first for end users. There's a steep learning curve that requires proper training for users to get up to speed. In companies where people have been doing their job a certain way for years, there can be huge resistance to change. These growing pains have to be addressed proactively with a robust training strategy to get users up to speed. There are a number of both benefits and limitations for companies that use SAP ERP. Implementing and customizing SAP to suit a company is a huge undertaking. Let's walk through the steps needed for a successful implementation. There are multiple successful strategies to implement SAP, but they all follow a similar flow. Project preparation is first. This is where the cost and scope of the SAP implementation are defined. This is also the time to ensure there's a great team in place that has all the skills necessary for a successful implementation. This team studies the current systems being used. Then, they determine which system interfaces are required. This step also includes business blueprinting. This is where requirements for the new system are mapped. The second step is called realization. System configuration takes place during realization. Configuration is where SAP is matched with the company's existing business processes. All configuration is done utilizing the existing SAP structure and functionalities. In other words, configuration ties together the way a company works with the out-of-the-box functionality of SAP. Realization is also where customization occurs. Basically, customization is making a change that is not supported by SAP's default functionalities. Customizations are expensive and can really extend the length of an implementation. They can also complicate future upgrades. The third step in typical implementations is testing. There are different types of testing. Unit testing is typically first, and this is where we test individual parts of the program. An example here would be to make sure that each SAP transaction is working properly on its own. Next, integration testing tests how the systems are working together and how the program affects downstream processes. These first two types of testing are usually executed by project team members. Next is user acceptance testing. This testing is where end users are able to get into the system and ensure that SAP has been configured to accomplish everything needed for the business to run well. And finally, performance testing ensures the system can handle all the data and transactions. This is the testing phase that makes sure the system is fast enough for the end users. The fourth step in an implementation is final preparation. This is where all master data, like business partners and materials, is uploaded into the new system. Final preparation is also where end user security rules are set up and training is conducted for all end users. The fifth step is go live. This is when the actual switch from old systems to SAP occurs. These are frequently referred to as cutover activities. At this point, end users start using the SAP production environment daily for their work. Finally, the last step is post-go-live support. This is where any problems in production that were missed during the other phases are solved. This is also when non-business critical or your nice-to-have customizations are developed, tested, and implemented in the system. The SAP implementation process end-to-end can take as little as 6 months, up to 4 or 5 years for very complex implementations. Companies often choose multi-wave implementations. This means they'll implement at one location and ensure the system works well before implementing at other sites. SAP.
Okay, very important. I'll stop for a moment here. So you saw the different stages of implementations, right? Testing, implementing, setup, etc., right? Challenges happen in the organizations, like, when they want to customize, and as you heard correctly, the trainer saying that each organization is unique and each organization setup is very unique, right? So while SAP definitely offers you like a lot of customized options, but that process of customization is where, like, it takes a lot of time because they have to make it unique for the organization, right? So hence it is very important that the implementations and customizations is understood pretty well, because tomorrow, let's say, if you are actually working on a client site, or if you are working for SAP itself, the company itself, And either or, you're getting a chance to interact with, like in one situation like this, where you're talking about implementation, testing, etc. You need to know step by step, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how to go about one from the other. And that's important to kind of understand, right? So hence, implementations and customizations are a very important aspect to keep in mind for SAP.
SAP ERP is broken up into different modules that all interact with each other to form a comprehensive solution. Let's look at a very high-level overview. There are two types of modules in SAP: technical modules and functional modules. Technical modules deal with SAP infrastructure. Work done in technical modules makes sure the system runs correctly. Developing or maintaining functional applications is completed in technical modules. Because of this, most SAP end users never come in direct contact with any technical modules. We'll spend most of our time focusing on functional modules. Functional modules support transactions that align with business processes. These modules have very strong integration. This means they send information between each other very efficiently. And this is one of the biggest strengths of SAP. There are many functional modules in SAP. Each organization can choose which modules they need to implement to suit their specific business. Let's talk through some of the most common functional modules. The first group we'll look at are accounting modules. SAP Financial Accounting includes the general ledger, accounts payable, and accounts receivable. Next is SAP Controlling. This is where profit center and cost center accounting are done. A third common accounting module is SAP Project System. This module houses project planning, project monitoring, and project costing functionality. The next group are logistics modules. SAP Sales and Distribution has sales order processing and shipping. The SAP Materials Management module includes purchasing, inventory management, and valuation. Next, SAP Production Planning includes production order processing and materials requirement planning. SAP Quality Management is where incoming, in-process, and final inspection are done. And SAP Plant Maintenance includes breakdown, predictive, and preventive maintenance functions. Finally, SAP Human Capital Management in the human resources area can capture the entire cycle of an employee at a company, from new hire all the way to termination. Besides the typical functional modules, there are many industry-specific modules available in SAP as well. Modules that are industry solutions start with I and S. For example, the IS-A module is built for the automotive industry, while IS-U supports the utilities industry. Modules that are financial services related are built for banks and insurance firms. Two examples of financial services modules are FS-CM, which deals with claims management, and FS-ICM, which does incentive and commission management. Because of its broad capabilities, SAP has built modules for almost every common business process. In SAP, we often talk about two types of data: master data and transactional data. Let's take a look at the difference between these two types. Master data refers to all the information that deals with people, places, or objects in the system. Master data is the foundation that the SAP databases are built on. Without accurate master data, transactions cannot occur. Master data tends to be relatively static. Examples of master data in SAP include the information in business partner records. This is all the static data about our suppliers and our customers. Another example of master data is our employee master data, with information like employee name and social security number. On the other hand, transactional data records the actions of a business. This type of data represents the bulk of day-to-day transactions. Transactional data is constantly changing. Examples of transactional data in SAP include the information found in purchase orders, sales orders, or changing an employee's work schedule. Our transactional data depends on good master data. We need both types of data to be accurate to have an effective system. But if the master data is not precise, the transactional data will never be correct.
Okay, so while we are listening about SAP, but the last example you saw, about data, like transactional data and master data, etc. So you can see the correlation. So a lot of today's technology and industry talks about data and AI. These are the two most hot topics, right? And probably the most progressive of the way we manage this part of the technology. So you will see that even if you are learning a data management, even if you are thinking of a data architecture, even if you are thinking of how to set up that entire ecosystem of data, it has a connection with things like ERP, SAP, etc. as well. So everything is interconnected and nothing is standalone, right? So while you may be seeing this about SAP and ERP implementation, but the foundational concepts are something which is across and which is same for not only SAP but then anything in the technology world. So that's something to keep in mind as well, right? Let's listen to the SAP clients section of it.
The term client in SAP has a unique meaning. Let's look at clients in the SAP world. Clients are essentially self-contained business units within each SAP system. When we log in to SAP, we choose the specific client we want to access. Each client is assigned a 3-digit number. In our screenshot, we're logging in to client 150. There are different types of clients in SAP, and we'll look at a few of the most common here. End users typically log in to what is called the production client. The production client is the system of record for a business. Another type of client is quality assurance. This is where system developers can check on customizations and development changes and make sure they'll work with other parts of the system. Next, the sandbox client is a place to experiment with new changes or customizations before they're moved into production. Finally, the training client is where all the end user training can take place. During training, end users can experiment freely in the training client without impacting our production client. These last three types of clients are what is often referred to as non-production clients. Let's take a look at how different SAP clients may be set up at a large company. Large companies tend to break their clients up by either business units or by geographic area. This example looks at a company that has different SAP clients for each of its business units. Our imaginary company is called Widgets Are Us. Our company has two separate business units, Widget Manufacturing and Widget Consulting Services. Because our business units are quite different, it makes sense for us to have different clients for each business unit. On the widget manufacturing side, we have client 100, which is production, client 101 for training, client 102 for quality, and client 104 as a sandbox. The consulting services side has a different production client. It's client 110 in this case, and a different training client, number 111. This is a simple example, but the larger the organization, the more complex the client structure will be. SAP has customizable security roles. Let's take a look at how they work. Not every SAP end user will have the same access in the system. When a user profile is first created, they are mapped to a security role. The role that the user is mapped to will either allow or deny access to different transactions. The assigned security role will also allow or deny access to different organizational levels in the system. Organizational levels are things like company code, plant, or sales organization. Security roles in SAP ensure that there is a segregation of duties across a business. They make sure that the right people are doing the right transactions in the right areas of the system. Let's look at an example. Let's imagine there's a shop floor manager, and she's mapped to a role called Manufacturing Manager California. This Manufacturing Manager California role allows her to approve time off for her direct reports. It also allows her to create purchase orders in the system to order materials for her plant in California. Because her security role is mapped this way, she is denied access when she tries to approve time off for her coworker in the accounting department. The role she is mapped to does not show her coworker in accounting as one of her reports, so access is denied. Similarly, when she tries to create a purchase order for a plant in Toronto, her request would be denied by the system. Her role, Manufacturing Manager California, only allows her to create purchase orders for permitted organizational levels. In this instance, her security role does not allow access to make a purchase for the plant in Toronto. As our example demonstrates, security roles in SAP make sure that users have only the access they need to get their job done effectively.
Okay, so now we'll see few of the quizzes, and I would want everybody in the room, if possible, to be on videos, and then probably when you look at the quiz questions, you should be able to answer, and then let's see how we are able to solve it, right? Is that okay? Are you able to hear me?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, okay, fine. Let's see. So, sorry. What does transactional data typically record for a business using SAP? So you can answer the question or you can ping in chat. And you have to ping very fast because it's only 15 seconds, right?
Actions.
Actions. Okay, let's see. Correct. That's right. Who was the one who answered this?
Onyx Rubli.
Okay, all right. Let's see the next question. Which client is an example of a non-production client?
Training.
Okay. Anything else?
Training, sir.
Okay, let's see. All right, that's correct. Great. Next question. Imagine a user assigned to a manufacturing manager in North America role. Which action would this user typically not have access to? This is an easy one.
Second one, sir, creating purchase order for a plan. Second one.
Okay, and I see some chat answers as well. Okay, that was the previous questions. Right. Okay, I think this is an easy one. Let's say submit. Yes, and that is correct. Right. In the chat, I see a couple of them. Yeah, Subramaniam and Mallikarjun says second one. Okay, great, fantastic. Let's look into the next one. Next question. What is not a benefit of implementing SAP ERP?
The third one, low total
Third one.
ownership.
Low total
Third
cost
one.
of ownership.
Third one.
Not a benefit. TCO. Okay. Yes. All right. Great. And you guys are becoming master. Very, very nice. Good. All questions are answered getting correctly. All right. Next one. Which task in the realization step can be costly and lengthy to implement?
Customization.
Okay. Customization. Let me see the chat. Okay. Right. Okay. Nobody else in chat yet. Okay, customization. People are saying one. Yes, that's fine. That is okay with me. All right, let's see. And that is correct. One is correct. All right. Okay, the last question. Whoever, let's see who answers this fast. Quickest finger first. Right. Let's see. Team or like, anybody, individual. Which of this is not a logistics module in SAP ERP?
Third one, sir. SAP Human Capital Management.
Okay. Before that, Vaishali Computers said 3. Then Ambika said 3.
B, sir.
Okay, third one. All right. Okay, I think Vaishali Computers was the first one to kind of answer this to me, right? So congratulations. Thank you very much. All right. So let's move on. Next. Okay, continue watching. All right. Okay. Now we'll move to the different modules, right? And each one of these, and you may find each one of these interesting in your own way, because probably either you have an interest of getting into these areas in the future, or you in this class would have already done something around it, right? But it's very important to understand the scope. The reason for this section number 2 of modules is it's very important to understand the scope, because tomorrow when it comes to a job and an opportunity, you would know where all can these be effective, right? So hence understanding this is important. And of course, not everybody will be specialized in everything. Like, for example, person A may be specialized in production, somebody may be an accounting, somebody may be an HR, right? But what is important to understand is all these options are available. So you as an individual, you should be able to kind of, then accordingly choose where and how you fit in. And that's the importance of this lesson. And the second thing, which we'll see for the next 10-15 minutes, right? So let me play.
Is broken up into different modules that interact with each other. Let's dive into the SAP Financial Accounting module, often referred to as SAP FI. The SAP FI module is responsible for tracking and reporting on financial data across an organization. It contains nearly every financial business process a company may have. Because it is so versatile, the SAP FI module is one of the most widely implemented by companies using SAP. In SAP FI, all our transactions start and end with a general ledger, or GL. The GL includes all of a company's financial transaction data and a chart of accounts, where all of the accounts are listed in the system. Transactions are recorded in submodules that can be reconciled with the general ledger data in real time. There are 4 primary submodules of SAP FI in the general ledger. They are accounts payable, accounts receivable, asset accounting, and bank management. Accounts payable, or AP, is the submodule that houses supplier-related data. This is where we can look at a business partner record for a supplier and see information like current payment terms. Capabilities of accounts payable include invoice and credit memo posting, invoice payments, and automatic payments programs. It's also where supplier reporting happens. Let's look at an example. In our test system, we're looking at a document of an outgoing payment for $15,000 US. We can see our vendor is called ABC Insurance. We can also see the general ledger account. Next, we have accounts receivable, or AR. This is where we deal with business partner records to manage our customer data. Transactions in accounts receivable include invoice creation, invoice posting and payments, and it's where we run any customer-based reporting we may need. Again, let's jump into our system, and this time we'll look at an accounts receivable document. Here we're looking at an invoice that was created from a sales order in the system. We can see that this invoice is for a payer named Midwest Supply Company. The net value of this invoice is $480 US. And in the line item area below, we have the specific line-by-line details for this invoice. We can see that this invoice was for consulting services executive, and the customer was billed for 4 hours. The SAP FI submodule that deals with a company's fixed assets is called asset accounting. Examples of fixed assets are things like owned warehouses, land, vehicles, and computer hardware or software. Functions of asset accounting include recording acquisition, depreciation, sales, in the retirement of these fixed assets. Let's look at an asset master record. Back in our test system, we're looking at the asset master data for a 2019 Mercedes Sprinter. We see that the asset class for the Sprinter is vehicles. We could drill down and look at the value of this asset, including things like depreciation, by pressing the Asset Values button in the bottom right. The final major submodule of the general ledger is bank accounting. It deals with all of the company's bank account transactions. It's used to reconcile all transactions recorded on bank statements and compare them with the transactions in the system to ensure that they balance. Let's look at a bank master record. Our test system is now displaying a bank master record for Chase Manhattan Bank. It includes the bank key and the SWIFT number. A major benefit of the way the SAP FI system is designed is that all of the submodules are integrated and transactions are updated in real time. This means that accurate financial statements can be pulled from the system at a moment's notice.
And I will pause here. So this financial accounting is probably the most commonly used in a lot of the work that sales, marketing, or anything which is more customer facing that we do. We end up either onboarding a new vendor, we end up creating an invoice, we end up having the payments processed, etc. Right? So this is the most common example, or probably the most widely used an accounting system in SAP actually. Right? Just wanted to let you know in general in the industry that's what it is. So let's listen more.
Let's look at the SAP controlling module called SAP CO. SAP controlling deals with planning and monitoring business operation costs. It has powerful reporting functions and can show exactly where money is being spent at a company. Ideally, this can be used to increase profitability. The 5 primary submodules of the SAP CO module are Profit Center Accounting, Cost Center Accounting, Internal Orders, Product Costing, and Profitability Analysis. Profit Center Accounting is used to evaluate profit or loss of independent areas within a company instead of looking at a company's profitability as a whole. Let's take a look at a profit center in SAP. In our test system, we're now looking at Profit Center 1011. This profit center is called Widget Sales. We can also see this profit center's controlling area, which is controlling area 1000. In the validity date, we can see this profit center became valid on January 1, 2017, and there is no end date for this profit center. Next, we'll look at cost centers. They deal with the costs associated with a company's internal departments, like sales or human resources. Cost centers deal only with expenses, not revenues. They show exactly how much departments are spending. Let's take a look at a cost center. Back in our test system, we're looking at a cost center 100105. And this cost center is called Accounting. We can see that the cost center category is marked as W. This means it's an administration cost center. Internal orders are used to manage the costs for small internal projects within a controlling area. Internal orders are used for in-depth analysis of short-term projects or a one-time expense, such as a trade show. Internal orders are different from cost centers as they are able to collect both costs and revenue. In our SAP test system, we're viewing master data for an internal order for a Las Vegas trade show. We can see the order number at the top. We can also see the order type is Y400. This is the code for internal order marketing. Product costing looks at the costs required to produce goods and services. It gives clarity to manufacturing costs, and it helps with decisions on whether it's worth buying a product to resell or better to manufacture it in-house. Let's take a look at an example. In our test system, we're looking at material cost estimate for a material called Blue Widgets Size 2. we can see the total value of $187.50 for each one piece of blue widget size 2 manufactured. Finally, profitability analysis measures the profitability of the products or services offered, and it helps us make pricing decisions. A key feature is the ability to determine profitability by geographic region or country, distribution channels, or how profitable sales to a single customer are.
Okay, so while we talked about the controlling module of SAP, the next two, what you will typically hear, it goes hand in hand. One is the sales and distribution, and the second is materials management, right? Now, these are also quite traditional in nature when initially, all these entire ERP software, etc., were being set up. Sales, distribution, material management, production planning, these all were the more traditional ones, right? While the controlling unit will help you to understand internally which business units are doing what kind of expense, how would you manage the profitability, where would you save the cost. This is more internal facing. The other ones are also external ones, and we'll see how that difference is.
The SAP Sales and Distribution Module, or SAP SD, is the backbone of the selling and the transportation of products and services. SAP SD is a logistics module that is used to deal with customer and product-related data. Organizations use this data to manage all of the sales ordering, shipping, billing, and invoicing of their goods and services. SD is best visualized when broken into the sales cycle. First are pre-sales actions, where inquiries and quotations are created. Next is sales, where sales orders or more robust sales arrangements, like contracts and scheduling agreements, are created. Third is distribution. This is where delivery documents are created and goods are picked from the warehouse, packed, and then shipped to the customer. Last is billing and returns, where billing documents and invoices are created, and if necessary, any return orders are also created. Let's look at a typical sales and distribution process in the system. First, we're going to look at a quotation from our pre-sales step in our test system. This quote is for a customer called Seattle Retailers. The total amount of this quote is $2,500 US. When we look below in our item list, we see that this quote is for a potential order of 50 small steel plates. Moving on to an example from our sales phase, we are now looking at a sales order in our test system. Sales orders are very similar to quotations. We can actually create sales orders with reference to the quotations that are already in the system. This will bring over a bunch of information like the sold to and shipped to parties, so we don't need to re-enter that information. In our example sales order, we again see our customer is Seattle Retailers, and our net value is $2,500 US. However, when we look below in our item overview, we see that this order is for 50 large steel plates. After sales orders are finalized, our shipping documents are then created. Now, we're looking at an outbound delivery document. Here we can see the dates where the products for this order were loaded from the warehouse and the delivery date and time of 11 o'clock of March 16th, 2018 to our customer. So we've looked at our sales quotes, a sales order, and our outbound delivery document. The final step in the process is billing. Now we're looking at an invoice. Here we can see our net value of $360 US, the payer, which is Georgia Distribution, and the billing date of March 13, 2018. We've had a look at the general sales and distribution process in SAP. Each of these steps in the SAP SD module generate transactions in the other modules in SAP. Let's review two common examples of this integration. First, when a sales order is generated, the system does a product availability check in the materials management module to make sure there is actually stock to be sold. At the same time, SAP also runs a credit check for a customer in the finance module to ensure this customer will be reliable about paying their invoices. The sales and distribution process is highly dependent on other modules. This tight integration enables efficient selling and transportation of products and services at a company. The next module we'll take a look at is Materials Management, or MM. This is a logistics module that many other modules rely on to keep the supply chain functioning. Materials Management ensures that there are always the required materials in stock. The key benefits of Materials Management are the way it can help increase productivity and reduce costs by handling materials efficiently. The four major components of Materials Management in SAP are Material Master Data, Purchasing, Inventory Management, and Physical Inventory. First, we'll look at Master Data in Materials Management. One component of Master Data are Material Master Records. They include a huge amount of information about a specific material. Next are Business Partner Records for suppliers. These records document all the physical and financial information pertaining to the suppliers a company is working with. Finally, we've got Purchasing Information Records. These act as the marriage between material information and supplier information. For example, a supplier's current price of a particular material is stored in the Purchasing Information Record. Let's look at a Material Master Record in the system. This is the Basic Data 1 screen of a Material Master for material TTS5. In our description field, we can see that this material is a small titanium screw. Our record also shows the base unit of measure. In this case, our small titanium screws are sold by piece. When we scroll down, we see the dimensions area that shows that the net weight of each screw is 35 grams. Across the top, where it says Basic Data 1, Basic Data 2, Purchasing, etc., each of these are tabs that has many fields that allow for input. These tabs have over 200 available fields. There are a few required fields, but a Material Master can be as detailed as a company needs. The next module component we'll explore is Purchasing. This includes procurement activities like purchase requisitions and purchase orders. Let's take a look at a purchase order in our system. We're now looking at a standard purchase order, and we're in our Delivery/Invoice tab. We can see the vendor number and name. This purchase order is for Indiana Supply Company, and the date the order was created was March 1, 2019. The grid below shows line items of what was ordered. It looks to be a raw material named RM20, and 500 pieces were ordered at a price of $1.23 per piece. Inventory management in the module does exactly what it says. It manages the inventory. Examples here include goods receipts from suppliers and internal transfers, where we move a material from one storage area to another. Let's look at an inventory management report in the system. This is an important inventory management report that's showing all the goods receipts at a particular plant. In the first column, we have which material was received. In the second column, we have our plant, which is 1710. In the third column, we have our storage location within that plant. The last three columns show us when the material was received, how big the order was, and in which unit of measure. Was it in pieces or eaches? Closely tied to inventory management, we've got physical inventory. This is where physical inventory is documented. Various inventory strategies can be implemented. For example, a company may choose periodic inventory, where they count all inventory at a specified time. Alternatively, a company may go with a process like cycle counts. A cycle count is where a small sample of inventory in one storage location is counted at a specific time. Let's look at a physical inventory report in our test system. This is a report showing our physical inventory for a specific material called small widgets. At plant 1710 in storage location 171A, we can see that our current stock, 4,998 pieces, was last counted on June 11, 2019. The last column shows that our inventory count still needs to be executed for our current period. When used effectively, the materials management module is a powerful tool to ensure an efficient supply chain.
Okay, just a couple of minutes of pause, and then we'll go through the other few ones as well before we take the quiz in this section, right? So far what we have done is we have looked into financial accounting, we have looked into controlling, sales and distributions, material management. And as you would have seen, that each one of these modules has different roles and functions to play, right? Now comes in terms of the production planning. While all of these modules are talking about each one of them. So production planning is something which is the one of the final outcome oriented kind of planning in an organization. And in the end, what am I going to be producing, and what's going to be the end results as well, right? So we'll see that. Then followed by that, we will have something called as a quality management. Very, very important, because anything and everything that you do, unless you have the quality management in place in an organization, the end result obviously has errors, right? So how do you do the quality management part of it? How do you do the plant maintenance part of it? And et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see those modules right now, right?
Let's look at the SAP Production Planning module, often abbreviated as SAP PP. This module is used to help plan the manufacturing for sales and distribution of products. SAP PP has the ability to handle businesses that have both repetitive manufacturing models, where the manufactured product stays the same over a long period of time, and discrete production models. Businesses using discrete production models tend to use order-based production, where the product is customized or changed frequently. 4 of the major aspects of SAP production planning are the bill of materials, routings, capacity planning, and materials requirement planning. Let's take a look first at the bill of materials. The bill of materials is often referred to as the BOM in SAP. It is a complete list of the materials, assemblies, and other components needed to manufacture a product. Essentially, a bill of materials is the ingredients list part of a recipe. Let's take a look at a BOM in the system. This is a bill of materials for a metal picture frame. We see that there are 3 line items in our material grid below. This means there are 3 components to make up our metal picture frame. Each of these components has a different quantity needed to make up the product. Our first line item shows that we need 4 pieces. The second, 8 pieces. In the third row, we see we need 32 pieces. Routings are up next. They are a description of which operations and in which sequence these operations need to occur for something to be produced. Routings are used for scheduling the production of semi-finished and finished products. They are also used to help calculate the operation cost for a finished product. We talked about the bill of materials acting like the ingredients list of a recipe. In our example, the routings act as the step-by-step instructions of the same recipe, in this case, to make a product. Let's look at a routing in SAP. We'll look at the same product as in the bill of materials, our metal picture frame. This is a simple routing where there's only one operation, and it's called assembly. This routing tells a lot of information. We have a base quantity of 100 pieces, and it's going to take 30 minutes to set up the machine and 10 minutes of labor to complete the assembly operation. Next up is capacity planning. Capacity planning is done to balance the production load across different work areas, which are called work centers in SAP. Over in our test system, we're looking at a report that displays the capacity evaluation of the assembly work center at plant 1710 over a specified date range. For each weekday date, we can see that there is 480 minutes of available capacity. If we look at our last column, which is remaining available capacity, we can see that all of our capacity is remaining. This means we can start booking production to this assembly work center right now. Materials Requirement Planning, called MRP, is used to ensure every material we need is available for production. The key feature of MRP is that when it is run, it will create procurement proposals. It ensures production can happen to meet our demand, and it minimizes the cost of holding too much unnecessary inventory. Let's look at MRP in the system. Back in our test system, we're looking at an MRP list for our metal picture frame. It shows us that we have an available quantity of 0 in our stock, but we have a quantity of 6 of this material in storage location 171D that is sitting there because of a production order from July 12, 2018. The production planning module enables businesses to efficiently produce the goods needed to meet customer demand. Let's explore the SAP Quality Management module, also known as SAP QM. As the name indicates, this module deals with managing quality throughout a company's processes. There are 3 major areas of the quality management module. They are quality inspection, quality control, and quality notifications. Let's take a look at each of these areas. Quality inspection helps determine if the units inspected meet defined quality requirements. This is where inspection lots, results recording, and defect recording all take place. Let's take a look at an inspection lot in our SAP system. This is an inspection lot for a goods receipt. That means we're inspecting goods that were ordered from an external vendor. This inspection lot had a quantity of 10. Of these 10, 0 units were defective or destroyed. Quality control is the area where different preventive, monitoring, and corrective activities take place. This is also where suppliers can be evaluated on quality. If a supplier's products are consistently not meeting a company's quality standards, it shows that it would be worthwhile seeking out a better supplier. Let's look at an inspection plan in the system. This is an inspection plan for manufacturing of material SG29 at plant 1010. For this material, this inspection plan applies to all lot sizes from quantity 1 and up. Finally, quality notifications are used to record internal or external problems that are caused by poor quality. Quality notifications can be created anywhere in the product cycle. This includes incoming inspection when a product has been purchased externally and final inspection before sending finished products out to our customers. SAP Quality Management measures and monitors quality against company-defined standards all throughout the procurement and production phases. The SAP Plant Maintenance, or PM module, functions to keep a plant working at the most efficient and effective level possible. Plant maintenance has 3 major areas: inspection, preventive maintenance, and repair. First, we'll look at inspection. Inspection measures the actual current condition of a production area. Next, preventive maintenance is used to maintain the ideal condition of a production area. Similar to how an oil change in your car keeps everything in good working order, preventive maintenance in SAP ensures the work areas are kept in the best condition possible. Finally, we have repair. Repair functions are used to restore the ideal condition of a production area. Functionality here allows immediate response to an event that causes a production shutdown. Let's look at plant maintenance orders in SAP. Over in our test system, we're looking at a list of plant maintenance orders. Each of these orders has a description of what needs attention. In our first line, we see a need to repair a leaking valve. The column Equipment signals the asset that needs attention. Our last 2 columns show the planned total cost and the actual total cost of maintenance. In our first line, our asset that needs attention is a cooling tower fan. The planned total cost is $262.08, but work has not begun on this order, so the actual total cost is still 0. The plant maintenance module in SAP helps keep businesses functioning at the most optimum levels possible. SAP. Next, we'll cover SAP Human.
Okay, this is something very different than all the previous ones that we have been going through, right? Now, if you typically think of the previous examples, as we kind of saw, it's all about plants and engineering and control, etc. But SAP and human capital management, which is typically to do with a lot of functions of an HR and human organizations, and a lot of you folks may actually be in the future working, right, in these. This is something which is very, very different from the rest. It has a different business angle altogether. So let's listen to it.
Human Capital Management, or SAP HCM. This module is SAP's solution to manage all human resources processes. The Human Capital Management module has a huge amount of capabilities. Major HCM functions are broken down into different areas. All these functions in the HCM module rely on organizational management. This is where the organization is populated with different areas, positions, and employee names. Next is employee administration, which handles employee addresses, bank details, and tax information. The HCM module also houses time management to record attendance, shift management, and leave accruals. This ties in to benefits management. Benefits management is where companies can create their own unique benefits packages. Next, the recruiting capabilities of HCM include applicant tracking and reporting. This helps a company figure out how effective their recruiting efforts are. There's also a platform that links with external recruiting websites. Finally, learning management helps enable online and classroom training. It includes a learning management system to track the completion of courses by employees. Let's look at 2 of these areas in our SAP system. In our test environment, we're viewing the personal data of an employee named Mr. Andrew Ulysses. Important to note on this screen is the start date and the to date. This employee started on March 9, 2017, and because his to date is 12/31/9999, it signifies that this employee is still working at the company. Now let's take a look at a list of vacancies in our test organization. This company has 6 open vacancies. We can see the description of these vacancies in our activity column. 4 of the positions open on June 12th, and the other 2 open on June 19th. From this report, we can tell that none of these vacancies have yet been filled. We know this because the status is marked as vacant for all 6 of these positions. SAP Human Capital Management has a multitude of tools to help support the human resources activities at a company.
Okay, now quiz time, right? And after this quiz, we'll move on to something else, more of a Q&A and those kind of things, right? So, okay, let's again, like last time, either you can answer over the chat, or maybe you can kind of speak up, right? Let's look into it, and you have to be quick. Okay. What is not a component of materials management module in SAP? First question.
4th one, sales contracts.
Sales contracts.
Okay, in the chat also, I think few Vaishali computers and others are saying sales contracts. All right, let's look into this. Click on submit. All right, that's correct. Next question. When making a product, the dash acts like the ingredients list of a recipe, and dash acts as a step-by-step instructions of the same recipe. This is tricky. I have an answer in the chat. It says 1.
Bill of materials routing. 4.
Okay, so you are saying routings and bill of materials? I see
4th
another
one.
in the chat. They also say 1. Okay, let's see if everybody's talking about that. Then
4th one, sir.
incorrect.
4.
Fourth one. All right. Okay. All right. So I think in the chat we got few wrong, and then we got few right. Okay. Next question. Preventive monitoring and corrective actions are part of which quality management area?
Quality controls.
Third one.
Quality control?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's see. In the chat also, I see a lot of one mentioned. I see some more.
Quality
Okay.
control.
Everybody's talking about one. All right. Let's see. All right. That's correct. Yes. Preventive monitoring and corrective actions are part of the quality control. That is that step of it. Okay. The next question. Ready? Which is not a major area of SAP plant maintenance?
Inspection, sir. Fourth one.
There is an answer in the chat which says 2. That is inventory management. There is
Inventory management, sir.
another 4. Okay. So choice is between 2 and 4. Okay. Final go. What should I choose?
Second
Fourth.
one.
Okay. Second one. Let's choose the second one first. Okay. Let's see. Correct. So whoever said 4th is not correct.
Inventory management.
All right. What is not included in the work breakdown structure? This is an easy one.
ROI analysis. Fourth one.
Right. This was an easy one. Okay. Next question. Which human capital management area records employee attendance and leave accruals? Again, this is easy one.
Time management.
Time management, sir.
Management, okay. Yes, fourth one, time management. That is correct. This is an easy one. Which SAP FI submodule, that is financial this thing, handles invoice payments to suppliers?
Accounts receivable.
Fourth one.
Accounts payable or accounts receivable?
Accounts payable.
It says which SAP FI submodule handles invoice payments to suppliers?
Yes. Yes, sir. Accounts payable.
That is AP. All right. Okay. Yep. That's correct. All right. I think more majority in the chat also is saying like in a 4, which is good. Next question. Which SAP CO submodule deals only with the expense of company's internal departments?
First one, sir. Cost center accounting.
Okay. What else? Somebody saying 2. Mallikarjun says 2. Ambika says 1. Sunita says 4. We have everything.
Cost center accounting.
First one.
All right. That's correct. So whoever said 1 is correct. Next question, and this is the last one. Which is not part of the distribution phase of SAP sales and distribution process? Not a part.
Creating invoice. No.
Okay.
Creating invoice.
Okay. Creating invoice. Somebody, Aisha Dynamic Infotech says 1. Creating delivery documents is also an answer. Okay. A lot of people are saying 1. Ambika says 1. Mallikarjun says question. Oh, sorry. Sorry. 1. It says 1. Okay. Sinchu Naik says 1. So what should I choose?
Second, sir.
Second. Okay. Let's see. Second. Correct. Yes. So a lot of people said first, that is creating delivery documents. No, it is actually creating invoices.
Yeah.
See, this is what is not a part of the distribution or sales. Sales and distribution process will not create invoices. The rest is all this is going to be part of the first one, that is FI, accounting FI. So hence that's the answer. All right. Okay. I'll stop sharing for some time, and then let's hear any questions, etc. that you have, because I think we have learned quite a bit of thing in terms of the SAP and what the ERP is, what are the different modules. So let's also hear questions from you, like, what did you understand, or what are your thoughts, or any questions around the kind of opportunities that, you may want to find in the market, etc. Where can this actually help? Let's talk about that. Let's hear questions. Like, are you folks actually planning to use this somewhere, or are you folks looking to apply in some organizations in certain like areas of these what we just looked into? Do we also have in this group anybody who is specialized in certain of these areas? We can have those kind of questions as well and conversations. I think Kionix Hubli was answering and asking a lot of those questions in past, so they have suddenly gone off video. I don't know how. And others as well. So could we have questions? So everybody understood everything, what was taught? Okay, if that is the case, okay, I see they're back on video now. Okay.
So what is the takeaway that will be from today's class for AI and Python students?
Okay. So there, you remember there was a section which talked about data and data structuring, right?
Yes, sir.
So typically AI and Python is more about using automation and using artificial intelligence in the data structure. Anything, be it SAP or be it anything else. Data as a structure in the organization is probably one of the most important and upcoming technology conversations, right? And by knowing Python, you are actually able to program it easily. And of course, AI is the next level. So how do you train the system so that that makes things automated? So the section which talks about how do you create structured data, unstructured data, centralized data, or in a lot of organizations, what we are right now talking about is called as a data mesh. Like, how do you typically, data is all around. How do you typically navigate through that mesh? And that's called as data mesh. It's a very recent terminology in it's upcoming terminology in the data and technology industry. So these would be, how would you implement that from a SAP point of view or an ERP point of view as a data management is going to be critical. That's the takeaway. If you are looking only connecting the dots between these two.
Thank you, sir.
I see a question which says from Yusuf, which language is best for ERP? There is no such language which is best for ERP, Yusuf. I don't think you need to learn any language as such for ERP. ERP as a software is given to you. It's something which is already built, right? So you would know what to use in what feature. In all the examples and what you saw, you saw it's already being given to you, right? So there is no language specific as such. It could be a multiple depending on what you are using to code, right? Okay, what else? Anything else? Any questions around other modules? Okay, Aisha Dynamic has said something. Okay, hello sir, how can we use SAP and AI together? So I just answered this question, the same question to Kionix Hubli, right? So it's more about using it in the section of our data. So it's all about how do you use data unstructured, structured, and then how do you use artificial intelligence over there in SAP, right? So typically an ERP is more structured and then it's programmed. But based on how typically your organization is going to be using it, how your organization has a particular pattern, this could be automated so that less and less of manual work is required. And that's the AI part of it. So once first you set things up, then you think about AI. and how you build it out, right? And again, it all boils down to a data structure. All right, more questions? So, Vaishali Computer says, tell us more about HR. All right. So as you saw in that last module, when we're talking about the HR, there are different aspects to HR. When we talk about HR, human resources, usually people think about recruitment, hiring, right? That's just one part of it. You have a lot of things. You have your people skill development. You have your learning and development. You have performance management. How are you performing appraisals? So many of these things, right? So having an ERP, and in this case it is SAP, there are other ERPs as well. Having an ERP in the system and having this entire documentation about a person X as to what that person's grade is, what the person's compensation is, what are the skills the person has, where is the learning that person needs to do, right? All these can be possible when you have an ERP, and that's the HR and human resource management part of things, right? The various areas that human resources they actually cater to can be managed with an ERP solution. So Deepika says, SAP is server basis or cloud basis? Very good question. I will answer this in maybe the next 2-3 minutes. In fact, there is a video which I would want to play to all of you once we are done with this. Is there any other question? If not, we'll probably move to Deepika's question and we'll start sharing that as well. Okay, Subramaniam says, I heard from some that it's difficult to get a job in SAP without experience. See, it depends on the kind of job, right? So obviously there are different roles. SAP also hires freshers. SAP also hires fresh graduates, right? But again, it all depends on what kind of role you're applying for and what kind of qualifications you have, right? So if it's a fresher, then obviously SAP does hire fresh graduates. If it is very specific, senior level, then you will need to have the relevant experience. And that is not only true for SAP, that is true for almost everything. But yes, SAP as an organization is also a very well-known organization, and they are very meticulous in how they screen people, how they interview people, what kind of talent they hire. So it's not easy for sure, but it is not difficult as well. As long as you have your skill sets, I think that's fine. I don't see that to be a challenge. Sunita asks me the question, sir, please tell how is the demand for SAP in the present market? It's huge. SAP is one of the business leaders, right? There is no second thought about that. So the demand is huge. It's built a huge brand. In its own way, SAP is one of the biggest consultants. So it's a huge demand. Whether you work for SAP or whether you work with SAP solutions on a client side, it could be either or, right? So companies like Salesforce, SAP, they are the market leaders in their own domains, not necessarily the same, but in their domains. So either you work for the organizations themselves, or you work as a consultant, or you work as a partner. There are multiple such options to kind of work with this, and of course, obviously the demand is huge. Okay, so we'll also see in terms of the SAP server versus where things are stored, etc., and stuff like that, right? So I think that will be something quick, interesting presentation for you to see. I'll play the video. Let me share the screen, and this is where how typically the SAP cloud platform looks like. And the reason why we should be focusing on this is because obviously this is the latest, in the sense that in the world of cloud, we should be talking about cloud. So let's see how SAP and cloud actually go hand in hand. All right, let me play the video.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a tour of the SAP Cloud Platform course. I'm excited you're here. In this introduction session, I will give you an overview of the course as well as a little bit about myself. So my name is John Yegas. I have 10 years in IT and software sales experience supporting multiple industries such as oil and gas and retail, state and local government, among others. I'm a data geek at heart. I am a co-author of the SAP Press book called SAP Build, which is our prototyping solution. In my current role, I am a platform solution engineer here at SAP. A quick overview of the agenda for this course. We'll start out with an introduction and overview. That's what we're doing right now. Then I'll go into what is the SAP Cloud Platform, followed by setting up your trial account. So I'll give you detailed steps in a video on how to set up your own trial account on the Cloud Platform. Then I'll take you through the SAP Cloud Platform services and the catalog of services that it offers. Then we'll wrap up with a summary, and I'll give you some additional information in an appendix as well. So let's get started. In this section, we'll look at a brief history and common use cases of the SAP Cloud Platform. Now, it should be no surprise to you that the digital era is changing, and has been changing for the last few decades. As companies grow, adapt to new environments, new demands, so does their technology. SAP's game plan for the creation of the Cloud Platform, also known as SCP, was simple. SAP recognized that the majority of its customers were living and breathing in a hybrid environment, meaning not all systems were comprised of only SAP or other single-vendor technology, but it was comprised of multi-vendor systems and applications, as well as hardware. And with the movement to cloud, on-premise wasn't the norm. Methods of innovation were stale and burdensome, meaning all customizations were developed close to the ERP, making upgrades and enhancements nightmares due to the amount of regression testing one small customization required. But frankly, they didn't have anywhere else to put those customizations. So customers needed a single platform to seamlessly integrate their hybrid environments, build new differentiating apps decoupled from the core ERP, and extend applications that were already running. This is how SAP's Platform as a Service, now called the SAP Cloud Platform, came to life. In 2012, the SAP HANA Cloud Portfolio and SAP NetWeaver Cloud were introduced, soon to be reintroduced as the SAP HANA Cloud Platform just a few months later. This was the foundation for SAP Cloud products such as SAP Business Objects Cloud, now SAP Analytics Cloud. In 2017, the HANA Cloud Platform was renamed to the SAP Cloud Platform, which as of April 2019, we're still in its current name. As mentioned before, there are three main use cases for the SAP Cloud Platform. Now let's take a look at each one in a little bit more depth. Integration. SAP Cloud Platform's integration capabilities all fit on a single platform, enabling customers to create integration connections between every system needed to run the business. This includes both internal and external system scenarios, such as B2B, IoT, and real-time API integration. For example, one use case that customers are doing right now are supplier portals. One single portal where all of their suppliers, all of their internal employees can access one location, one sign-on, one UI experience, all built and integrated with and running on the cloud platform. A second use case is building new applications. Now, traditionally, application development was a long, tedious process consisting of maintenance of lines of code, finding somewhere to host and run the application, and then custom making all the integration points for the app to actually function. The work that the business and IT had to coordinate on made projects months or years to complete. With SAP Cloud Platform, all of the tools for application development live on the platform. Apps run on the cloud platform. Apps can be prototyped, developed, tested, and managed all on the platform, including integration and the UI-based development. This means that more people now have the tools to innovate. And the third use case, extending existing applications. Using services in the SAP Cloud Platform, customers can extend their current applications with new functionality, for example, such as applying a backend approval workflow to applications that don't originally have workflow capabilities, or adding an IoT component to a field application, reducing the amount of legwork it takes field workers to complete mundane tasks. Again, all of these services live and breathe in the cloud platform. They're all integrated together in order for you to build out your use cases. So now that you're familiar with the 3 common use cases for the cloud platform, let's talk about why go to the cloud. In this section,
Yeah, and this is what is going to be answering that question, what you asked earlier in the chat. Why go to the cloud? Like, what's the requirement, right? So you heard about the history as to how typically what were the common cases. And now, like, you're talking about why go to the cloud. And I think that will give you that answer, the cloud platform.
we'll take a look at why customers should adopt a cloud-first approach. Now that we've talked about the history of the SAP Cloud Platform, let's talk about why go cloud at all. Essentially, this conversation boils down to the following 4 areas: enhancements and upgrades, innovation, time to value, and overhead maintenance. Traditionally, enhancements and upgrades with on-premise software consumes an enormous amount of time, people, and money, let alone the downtime the business must face during the upgrades and testing. With the SAP Cloud Platform, the enhancements and upgrades are done for you without disruption to your environment and with minimal testing, if any. The customer is alerted that there is an upgrade available, and they get to decide when they want to start it. This creates a much more efficient and flexible environment. Innovation. When was the last time you heard someone say no to an innovation because of the money and resources it would take just to try it? With SAP Cloud Platform, customers can leverage any of the services on the platform to build out their innovations. This includes things like an out-of-the-box IoT environment, a machine learning foundation environment, and in the future, blockchain capabilities. All of these enable customers to innovate in a controlled, cost-effective manner. Time to value. With cloud software, the time to value is greatly reduced because there isn't a need to procure hardware and install software. Someone else, typically a hyperscaler, stands up an environment, pre-installs the software, and in a short amount of time, customers are up and running on the latest and greatest, all without the need to worry about if their hardware is configured properly. And finally, overhead maintenance. To no surprise, managing hardware and software on-premise comes at a great expense for both time and money. Depending on the type of support offered, there is little overhead maintenance required to run a cloud-based platform. You never worry about when your data center is going down. You don't have to worry about security. You don't have to worry about physical access to the hardware. All of this is taken care of, enabling customers to innovate and provide value to the business. So now that we are convinced to go to the cloud, let's look at how the business can benefit from the SAP Cloud Platform. In this section, we'll talk about how the SAP Cloud Platform benefits the business. The SAP Cloud Platform supports this evolution towards a digital workplace. So what does that mean? The 3 components of a digital workplace are integration, transformation of services, and styles and creation experience. Essentially what this boils down to is that if I'm a member of the business unit and I'm working from a beach on my tablet, or if I'm in the office on my laptop, that the experience that I have is consistent across the board. Meaning the UI, the user interface, the look and feel, how I interact with my applications, everything down to the security and the level of access I have as far as data and applications go, again, is consistent across that entire space. And the SAP Cloud Platform and the services that are available encourage this evolution towards this digital workplace. So we've said that the SAP Cloud Platform includes capabilities to readily integrate and extend existing systems. But what does this do to bring value to the business? Well, the business is in charge of adapting to changing market needs. They're in charge of innovation. They're in charge of creating new efficiencies and new revenue streams. And all this boils down to business agility. So how does the SAP Cloud Platform do this? By introducing different kind of sub-use cases from the ones that we've talked about, or examples of what our customers are doing with the SAP Cloud Platform in order to innovate, in order to adapt to changing market needs, in order to create this business agility. Whether that be extending the digital core, extending existing applications, innovating with IoT, machine learning, and analytics and those services. Or is it mobilizing your business, right? Taking the applications that you use every day on your laptop and making them available to be consumed from a mobile device, such as a phone or a tablet? Or does that mean decreasing your training costs by refreshing the user experience? All these different examples are only a few ways that our customers are using the SAP Cloud Platform to achieve this business agility. So now that we understand how the SAP Cloud Platform is a platform for the business, let's dive into the technology. In this section,
Okay, so we'll just talk about just a quick one, how typically a demo of a trial account can be created. That is one, and then we'll move straight to the end as SAP HANA as a service, right? Because this is the most popular one, and you should be kind of knowing. And then we'll and for today's class, I think these are the only next two things what we will do before we kind of have a quick Q&A and then kind of an end, right? So let's look at a quick way as to how it looks like.
We'll take a look at these steps on how to set up your trial account for the SAP Cloud Platform, starting with a demo, followed by limitations of the trial account, Cloud Foundry versus the SAP Neo environment, as well as the SAP relationship to the hyperscalers. But first, let's start with a demo. Okay, so in order to sign up for your SAP Cloud Platform trial account, open a browser and navigate to cloudplatform.sap.com, and it'll take you to the SAP Cloud Platform homepage. Just a really quick tour. Up at the top, you can see different links for scenarios, the Cloud Platform capabilities, information on pricing, on how to get started, what our customers are doing with it, partners, etc. As well as there's an estimator. So if you have a use case in mind, you can go estimate what you need on the cloud platform and how much it's going to cost. You can also create a free trial, which is what we'll show you now. When you click free trial, it'll ask you for some demographic information. So we'll go ahead and fill this out. This will take you to a confirmation page. Now all you need to do is open up the email that you assigned for this, for the Cloud Platform trial account, and go in there and there'll be a link in your email to activate it. And then when you come back to cloudplatform.sap.com and click on free trial, you can either log in from this window on the right side, right here, or you can click the log on button and provide the credentials that you signed up with. And this will take you into your Cloud Platform trial account.
Okay, let's look at SAP HANA as a service.
In this video, we'll take a look at the SAP Cloud Platform HANA as a service feature. Welcome back. As mentioned earlier, SAP Cloud Platform has a complete catalog of services, but it also has the ability to host and store data in a SAP HANA database in the cloud. So let's take a look. So from your Cloud Platform trial cockpit, go down to SAP HANA/SAP ASE and click on Databases and Schemas. And this will give you a full list of all the different database tables and schemas that you've created within the Cloud Platform. So for example, if I want to create a new one, click on New, provides some very simple information such as a system password as well into the form, and it takes about 5 to 10 minutes to actually spin up a new database, which can then be connected to any design time tools such as WebIDE or your Eclipse design applications. So again, this makes it very easy to host and store data in the cloud, either from anything from a small data mart that business users might use and consume, all the way up to complete data warehouses. So these databases are expandable and scalable based on the customer need.
Right. And this is where to a lot of the questions earlier that was there in terms of how do I do with AI, data, Python, etc. You will see that all of these are then interrelated, right? How do you even create a new layer of data? How do you typically automate that? what would you do with the data management? I think those are things like that becomes critical, right? Yeah. So so I'll stop here for any other presentation, etc. today, and like I just wanted to hear any other final thoughts or any questions that the team has, or like which I can answer. I know this is a lot of information on one single day, so hence I don't want to kind of show anything more, and gap by gap, like class by class, we'll take one thing at a time, so that you're able to understand, right, and get the key takeaways. But any questions that the team has? Okay. If there is no question, and then that is fine, and I think it's okay. There is a question. Okay.
Yeah, from Mubi sir.
Yeah.
Sir, today is the class on SAP modules. Is it a standalone class for Python AI students, or if
I can't hear properly. Can you speak a little louder?
so is it a standalone class for AI Python students, or in case today's class, today's stream is required in future, do we need a disciplined study of these SAP modules towards AI Python classes? So
Yes.
whenever in future we need to through our programs fetch the data from the data structures.
Yes. So today's class was basically just about introduction in terms of what is ERP, what is SAP ERP. That's it. What are the possibilities? Like, I am not a certified SAP person or a Python trainer. So hence I would be not teaching you anything in detail and technical, right? So those technical classes will be handled by separate technical faculties in the future. But to your point, whether we need disciplined classes or content, yes, and that's something what I think in the entire course that you're signed up for, you would be going through those technical classes. There would be somebody, instructor, who would be actually talking you through that. Okay, whatever you saw today, let's say for example you saw the absolutely top level and an introduction to it, right? Then next you will probably get into the in-depth of, okay, how is this data structure even done, where and how I'm using Python. So getting into the technical skill classes are a separate classes. Not with me, but with somebody from a different faculty group as well. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Anything else? Okay, sure. If there isn't any, I think then we can just call it a day today. Harinakshi, I think we can end it here, and then again we'll meet in the next class with some other topics, right? And then in the month of April and May, we'll probably also start with some of the case studies or some sort of a group discussions, etc. as well. We'll see how after we have completed few topics and how we can kind of do that. We'll talk about that, but then yeah, I think we'll again then meet in the next class with the next set of topics.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you then. Thanks for attending the class, and yeah, we'll see you again next week.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.